Hello there friends, and welcome once again to Photoshop for the Scientist. So in today's video we're going to be looking at how to create a time-lapse video, which you may want to do if you've been doing some time-lapse microscopy, if you're looking at maybe cell migration or other changes to the cell, which is what I'm doing here. And in this little video I've just been imaging some cells, doing a cell swelling experiment over about the course of an hour. And it's really only a couple of images, but this technique will work for any number of images or really any length of time. So to show you what we're going to be doing, I'll show you this example here. If I click play, you can see the cell's swelling a little bit. But we'll also look at how to add a title and maybe how to freeze a frame and add in a little arrow, maybe pointing to a cell of interest. And yeah, I think that's it. So I'll hit stop and let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do, and this is assuming that you've saved all of your images in the same folder, which I would recommend doing just to keep things organized, is going up to File and saying Scripts and saying Load Files into Stack. And what this is going to do is take all of your image files and load them into the same Photoshop document as separate layers. So we'll go to Browse, and I'll just choose my images here from my time-lapse and hit OK. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to start sort of stacking all of these files together, which is going to take a while, so probably just going to edit out the dead air because I don't really want to have to keep talking the whole time. Okay, editing done. And so what we've got here is a stack of images, and the first thing you want to do is make sure that they're kind of in the right order that you want, in which case for me they are not. So I'm just going to move this guy back up to the top because it's my first image. And really, it's pretty easy from here. You just want to open your timeline window, which you can get to by going to Window down to Timeline if you don't see it. And I know in my last video we looked at creating a frame video timeline in my animation video, but today we're going to be doing a frame animation. So I'm going to click this button, and next you want to go to this little menu here, and you want to say Make Frames from Layers. And that's going to take all of these layers and put them into your frames here. And well, right now it's set to 0 seconds, which is pretty quick, and it's also set to loop once, which is also pretty quick. So it's gonna fall off the screen, but I'm gonna set it to forever, which you'll just have to take my word for. And if I click play, yeah, you can see already things are starting to take shape. Now, for me, the cells in this particular instance seem to be getting smaller, which is not what I want. I want them to be actually getting bigger. So it means they've been loaded in here in reverse, which is an easy thing to fix. You just select... actually, I don't even know if you have to select them all. Let's try not selecting. I'm going to not select them all, and I'm going to say reverse frames, and I think that will do it. Yeah, so there you go. So you don't even have to select them all. You just have to click reverse frames, and it will totally reverse them, which is pretty handy. One thing to notice is that every frame that you click here, the corresponding visible frame is highlighted or made visible in your layers panel, so you know which one is which. So that's just another way to check which frame is which. Another thing that I like to do is slow it down a bit. So right now each frame is set to 0 seconds, and I'm going to jack that up a little bit by highlighting all the frames and clicking this drop down list here. And I'm going to set it to 0.2, which is going to be off the screen. But you can see here it's selected, and that just makes things go a little slower, so you can, well, I don't know, it's really up to you how fast or slow you want to do it. Okay, so the next thing that you might notice is that this image is pretty dark. I probably just screwed up the settings when I was taking the images. So what I want to do is lighten them up a little bit, and to do that we're going to add a adjustment layer, and that will be applied to all the frames and all the layers. So I'm going to create a levels adjustment layer and just crank the white arrow up here to make it much brighter, and that's fine for my purposes. And you can see everything down here in the frames panel is updated automatically, so that's a little easier to look at. So that's that. And the next thing now is to add a title. So I'm going to select the first frame here, and then I'm going to click New Layer. And then with my text box, I'm going to put a little text up here, and I'm going to just call it Cell Swelling. and hit enter, and then I might sort of reposition it to a nicer spot. And in theory, this should stay for the entire course of the video. So it just kind of sits up there. You can put it anywhere. And you can change the font to whatever you like, any title or font face. Just adding a little descriptor to your video. And then next, I wanted to show how to add an arrow to point out a particular feature or cell that might be interesting. So I'm on frame 4 here, which I'll just stick with. And so say there's something interesting going on in here, and I wanted to freeze this frame for a bit. Instead of 0.2 seconds, I might set it to, let's say, 1 second. And then if I go over to my layers panel and click on the frame that is highlighted here, visible here, and then I click the new layer icon, and then I can just take my pencil or anything really and draw in my little arrow, which is pretty sloppy looking, but you could do a better job. And the trick here, if you want to just limit it to this one frame, is you want to create a clipping mask on this layer, and of this layer onto my frame here. So to do that, you hold Alt and sort of click the little intersection between these two layers, and that will clip this layer into my image layer here. So if we look back at my animation or my time lapse here, you can see it slows down there with the arrow, and then it disappears for the subsequent frames. And really that's all there is to it. Like adding the title and the arrow are just kind of extra little fun things to do. Making the actual time lapse itself is really just a matter of a couple clicks. And so when you're done and you want to export it, you can go up here, and what do you want to do? You want to say export. And okay, so you could go to render video, and I covered this in my animation video, which I did last time. But I think it's probably not the best choice, because rendering out a video is fine, but you don't have any choice of how many times you want to loop it, or I guess that's it. It just sort of plays once, and it's about a 1 second video in this case, or maybe 1.8 seconds. And that's fine, you can do that. But for me, for my money, what I would rather do is save this out as an animated GIF. And I covered this again briefly in my previous video, but for today I'll show you again. To do that, you go to Export, and this is in Photoshop CC 2015 for the record. And you'll go Save for Web, Legacy. And it'll bring up this sort of massive dialog box here. And you want to make sure you're set to GIF here, or GIF, if you so desire. And it's going to give you this preview window here. But what you can look at down here are looping options. So in this case, I want to keep it as set forever, but you can put in once or any number of times. I'm going to cancel that out here. Save forever. You can even have a little preview. Yeah, that's about what I want here. And then hit stop, just hit save, and I've already gone ahead and saved it ahead of time because it's going to take forever if I had not done that. So I'll cancel out of that, and yeah, you have your animated GIF, which you can open in I don't know, your internet browser, or perhaps more usefully, you can drop it into PowerPoint and the GIF will play, which is probably what you're most likely going to be using it for. So I think that's really all there is to it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and I will, as always, try to do my best to respond to them. And one other thing I wanted to cover today, or not really cover, but at least ask, is I've gone ahead and made this subscribe image here. And YouTube tells me that I should be asking you guys to subscribe to these videos, because I guess it helps my, well, no, it does help my channel grow. So if you want to go ahead and click the box, it really requires no effort on your part, but it's really handy for me. So if you appreciated the video, it would be very much appreciated on my end. And with that, guess we'll call it a day. So remember, you worked hard to get that time-lapse microscopy data, so why not work a little harder? And you don't even have to work that much harder. Just put them into Photoshop and make it into a video. Okay, well, I guess that's it for today, friends. Thanks again, and I will see you all next time.